Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Bihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
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 Nang Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye Nashta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtahi Hare Krishna. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 27. 1, 2, 27. Rajastamav Prakritya Samashila Pajanti Vai Pitribhuta Prajeshadin Shriyaishvarya Prajepsavaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance worship the forefathers, other living beings, and the demigods who are in charge of cosmic activities, for they are urged by a desire to be materially benefited with women, wealth, power, and progeny. Purport. There is no need to worship demigods of whatsoever category if one is serious about going back to Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita 7:20 and 7:23, It is clearly said that those who are mad after material enjoyment approach the different demigods for temporary benefits, which are meant for men with a poor fund of knowledge. We should never desire to increase the depth of material enjoyment. Material enjoyment should be accepted only up to the point of the bare necessities of life and not more or less than that. To accept more material enjoyment means to bind oneself more and more to the miseries of material existence. More wealth, more women, and false aristocracy are some of the demands of the materially disposed man because he has no information of the benefit derived from Vishnu worship. By Vishnu worship, one can derive benefit in this life as well as in life after death. Forgetting these principles, foolish people who are after more wealth, more wives, and more children worship various demigods. The aim of life is to end the miseries of life and not to increase them. For material enjoyment, there is no need to approach the demigods. The demigods are but servants of the Lord. As such, they are duty-bound to supply necessities of life in the form of water, light, air, etc. This next sentence is in italics, which means Prabhupada's highlighting it. One should work hard and worship the Supreme Lord by the fruits of one's hard labor for existence, and that should be the motto of life. I'll read that again. One should work hard and worship the Supreme Lord by the fruits of one's hard labor for existence, and that should be the motto of life. One should be careful to execute occupational service with faith in God in the proper way, and that will lead one gradually on the progressive march back to Godhead. Lord Sri Krishna, when he was personally present at Vrajadhama, stopped the worship of the demigod Indra and advised the residents of Vraja to worship by their business and to have faith in God. Worshipping the multi-demigods for material gain is practically a perversity of religion. This sort of religious activity has been condemned in the very beginning of the Bhagavatam as Kaitava Dharma. There is only one religion in the world to be followed by one and all, and that is the Bhagavad Dharma, or the religion which teaches one to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and no one else. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarane. Kalpatarupyascha kripa sindhubhye cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance worship the forefathers, other living beings, and the demigods who are in charge of cosmic activities, for they are urged by a desire to be materially benefited with women, wealth, power, and progeny. So we heard about in the previous verse how it's always been the case that worshiping the Lord is the best idea for practice, and has been performed by those in the mode of goodness always. And here we have some of the alternatives. And so the thing to take away, there's so many different kinds of worship here, worshiping your ancestors, different demigods, the universe, what have you, other living beings. The thing to take away is that sincerity of purpose is most important, right? Because here we have a description of some of the kinds of practices of those who are looking for some kind of reward, like they want to have more material enjoyment. And how many different kinds of material enjoyment are there, approximately? Limitless. And at the same time, it's really just one, because it's all just the same basic thing. It's just one way or another of stoking the false ego. Like I am owning and I'm controlling, right? As long as you think that you're owning and controlling, then there are limitless varieties of that. Like I'm into this flavor, you're into that flavor. They're into that flavor. I'm gonna try that one next week. That's actually really interesting. I like that flavor. That might scratch the itch a little bit. I like that. But it's all the same basic thing that I'm owning and I'm controlling. I'm the center. And the flavors and varieties are incidental. So therefore, although it may appear that there are different kinds of worship and there are different mixtures of the modes of nature, and that's true, and it's not a bad idea to understand and acquaint yourself with them, because the mode of passion manifests differently than the mode of ignorance. The basic thing is that we always have the option of tuning into our sincerity of purpose, even if we have some underlying desires that are mixed. Sincerity of purpose means I actually know in my gut, in my heart, I know beyond the pushings of the mind, I understand and I accept. I'm starting to embrace the fact that I'm never going to be happy. I'm never going to be fully properly aligned, like harmonious, unless I'm serving and unless I'm like giving my heart um, to the source. And that may be a challenge to parts of my existence right now. That may be a challenge to my mind. That may seem foreign or scary. That may challenge my sense of how much I could enjoy. Because part of the nature of like holding on to I'm the controller and I'm the enjoyer is that letting go of it can be very scary because of persistence. We've been persistently holding on to this, and the um, the basic thing is that we're really attuned to it. It's habitual, one way or another. We're not necessarily attuned to one flavor or another. That comes and goes. You know, Baskin Robbins has their flavor of the month, and the living entity has their flavor of the second. Practically, the mind is always flickering. Yoga Sutras explain like how flickering the mind is. To get the mind to focus for even a few seconds is a monumental feat of control. Um, really sustainably achievable only by the mercy of Krishna, because it's actually the product of so many lifetimes of chasing after sense gratification. So the basic thing is we've been chasing after something that'll fulfill our desire to be the controller and enjoyer, whatever that something is. It changes. But because it's so ingrained and we're so used to that mode, you know, deep down, to challenge that can feel very like, whoa, shocking. Because well, what's going to take its place? Am I just nothing? And if we don't have like a fully formed sense of our servitorship, we don't have like a full sense of how Krishna's got us, right? Then it can feel like we're just falling. There's actually nothing there. The ground has been taken out. We're just falling, free fall, and it doesn't feel good. So it can feel like, you know, challenging. But if we at least are trying to accept and embrace that, well, actually, no, I mean, I am being held, and this is really truth. This is really a beautiful truth, and I'm trying to embrace it. That's sincerity of purpose. And that's the most important thing. Nothing can replace that. Why is it that nothing can replace that? Well, here's how it works. If you have that, but you don't have any knowledge of how to practice in alignment with that, you don't even know what the source is, you're actually okay. Not right away, but you will be. Why? Because you're asking for him. You're asking for that source, and he is attracted to that. Proof positive, Canto 8, Srimad Bhagavatam. We have an elephant. An elephant is not particularly known for its transcendental activities most of the time. Elephants are animals. And we have an elephant that was called Gajendra. This elephant was the king of elephants. Actually, a human in their past birth. They were a king. They performed some spiritual activity because they were human. They had the prerogative, the advantage of being able to do so. They did. They actually developed some relationship with mantras. It's mentioned that they had a relationship with the songs and mantras of service to Krishna, and that stayed in the heart because it just does. That's what happens with spiritual activity. It sticks around. Um, and they were an elephant for karmic reasons that are never fully explained, as far as I recall. But they were the best of elephants. They had all the she elephants. They had absolute dominion over the, jungle, like they called it. The lion, the king of the jungle. Not this jungle. This was the elephant. Nothing could challenge it. Absolute aristocracy, full enjoyment. It was like a heavenly planet. They had like these descriptions of the ponds that were filled with purple and pink and blue lotus flowers, and the cuckoos and this bird and that bird and the hanging flowers and vines. And here comes this majestic elephant with his herd of she elephants and family, just like swimming in the water tank. And that's him. That's him in his life. And what happens? Crocodile grabs him by the leg, and he struggled very, very, very hard. And elephants are powerful. They're extremely powerful. But he realized, I can't make it, because he could never get back on land where he actually had his natural strength. He was in the water. The water is the crocodile's domain. The crocodile was defeating him because he was not properly positioned in his life there. And so the crocodile was going to drag him down. And he's fighting for like years, it's described. Couldn't make it. And he knew, this is it. I'm going to die. And so way beyond the animal body and animal mind, from the heart, a sincerity of purpose arose, and he actually started to utter prayers that he had felt from his previous life. Now, whether his elephant brain could understand that or not, probably not. But there was a sincerity of purpose, and it's described there. The demigods heard it, and they thought, "This is not for us. This is calling this towards the supreme." And the Lord came with his chakra, liberated the crocodile. In fact, gave the crocodile benefit because it's described by the acharyas, the crocodile had taken shelter at the feet of a Vaishnava. The Lord took it that way, liberated the crocodile, and I forget what benefit he gave the good Gajendra, but he gave him his darshan and saved him from the situation and gave him his own bhakti because the sincerity of purpose was there. If in your more relatable example, if in your human life you want to actually be of service in the supreme way, and you don't have a practice, you don't know that prayer is your prerogative. You're born with the capacity for prayer, and anybody can do it, and nobody can stop you. Doesn't matter what any government tells you, or any atheistic person debates around. You can always pray, and you can chant God's name. If you don't know how to do that, no one's ever showed you. You even know it's a possibility. You will get the prerogative. You'll get the chance to do it. Krishna will put you in touch with that. It doesn't even matter if you're in a false religion. You can be in a cult. You can be in a cult that's run by people who are just there for power and control. And if you actually enter the cult because you actually want to be of service and you actually want to do good and be in alignment with, I'm meant for giving, Krishna will progressively put you in touch with things that are more and more real because we have infinite chances. Okay, so we were misled. That's all right. That's not a problem. The main problem is, are you actually sincere? Because if you're trying to let go of the owner and controller thing, if you've seen through at least a little bit of the illusion that, oh, this stuff will make me happy, you're like, no, it won't. I'm actually meant for giving. I'm not meant for taking, right? If you've seen that and you're trying to align yourself with it, Krishna will help you. We see that. There's one devotee. It's actually a couple devotees I know if this is true of them, but one devotee I'm thinking of in particular, for a time he was a temple president in the Dallas temple. He grew up in, I'm trying to remember the name of the island. It's like near Indonesia. Very pious. I forget. It might come to me. Anyway, he grew up there. It's a small place, relatively speaking. And his family were worshippers of Lord Shiva. They had a lot of faith in Lord Shiva, and they took him as a supreme, which is the closest thing you can get to worshiping a demigod and still being right, because Lord Shiva is actually almost not different from the Lord. He's the Lord in touch with the modes of nature. But he had a sincerity of purpose. And so next door, the first ISKCON temple of this island was founded, and they had kirtans and prasadam, Sunday feasts, and all that good stuff. And as devotees will do, they had loud, boisterous kirtan of Krishna's names. And it's sometimes the case, neighbors can get on each other's nerves. So him and his family did not appreciate the devotees. And he self-described, he described his own family as being really they just inherited their spiritual tradition. It's like they didn't know who Lord Shiva is. They don't know who Vishnu or Krishna is. They just like, this is who we are. This is what we do. Now go on with your life, which really just means like be a pious but maturely, entangled person. Don't function too far out of the lines of propriety, but this is what we do, and that's it. There's no more room for religion or spirituality beyond that. And so he became very angry, and he talked to them about how they were annoying him, the devotees. And at one point, Lord Shiva appeared to him in a dream and said, so you say you're my devotee and you've been very sincerely following me. I want you to get to know these people, and I want you to understand what they're doing, because they're actually giving you what you're looking for, and you are not regarding it with the proper respect. And he woke up and he was very touched and moved, and he's like, this can't be really. And he started to read the Bhagavad Gita, appreciate kirtan beyond the very surface level of what's going on. People dancing around, looking like, what, did your baseball team just win the World Series? Like, why are you so happy? What's going on here, right? No, there's actually a very deep reason. This is not a cult. This is not like indoctrination. This is not a material thing. There's actually some deep philosophy, and people are moved at the heart level here. and so was he. And when I met this gentleman, he was chanting. He was a temple president, and he was chanting 64 rounds every day while being a temple president, and doing all that requires, because he had such lack of anything else going on. Just Krishna, just Krishna service. And he shared the story with humility, and he would laugh at himself. He said, "You realized, um, by Lord Shiva's grace, that he had been next door to people sharing pure devotional service, which he had a heart for, he had a desire for, but he didn't have any like training in. And Lord Shiva's, oh, right here. You want to be my devotee? This is what I want you to do. This is what will please me. You satisfy the Lord will please me the most." That's true of any demigod. They don't actually want to take the place of the Lord. Even Indra, temporarily, he's bewildered. He's angry that Krishna, this little boy, is saying, "Why are you stopping the yajna?" Because he just saw a little boy stopping the dharmic activities. That, dharmic activities mean they're worshiping some demigod. That's in the modes of nature, but it's still pious. And Indra's like, "Why is this boy stopping that?" So he, in a certain point of view, he had a right to be like annoyed. He just didn't realize it's Krishna. Indra basically is a devotee, right? So he's actually satisfied when Krishna is worshipped. We can see that in his prayers. We can see that when he submitted himself, like, actually, I'm your servant. Everyone's your servant. Please excuse my temporary, like, momentary lapse of reason. Actually, I'm most satisfied when you're worshipped. That's a demigod. So if somebody's like pointing in the wrong place, but their heart is in the right place, they'll actually have the opportunity, if they're sincere, be given to them to purify their practice. The technicalities are less important than the intention. It's less important when you're chanting the Gurvashtikam to pronounce it perfectly, right? Like when we chant it, Vande Guru, it's not Guru. Vande Guru Sri Chananadavindam. We may think it is because we all know the word Guru. It's Vande Guru because in Sanskrit, Guru is the way you modify Guru to be of the Guru, because you're saying worship the lotus feet of the Guru. But guess what? That's not as important as like your heart being full of love for your gurus. That's what's most important. If you got the Sanskrit down and the pronunciation, the time and place and circumstance, and you don't have any bhakti, Krishna don't care. And if you got the bhakti and you don't have anything else, Krishna is all there with his devotees. And all the technicalities and rules and regulations and pronunciation and mantras and philosophy and everything is beautiful and powerful and useful, but it's in service to the bhakti. And so just like when somebody's sincere and a devotee, whether it's a devotee of the caliber of Lord Shiva or Srila Prabhupada, or somebody, even like your peer was a little more advanced than you, was like, actually, just so you know, it's Guru, or actually, just so you know, we don't like drop our japa beads on the ground. We try to like whatever little detail you may be like not knowing, and that comes to your attention. If they're sincere, you're like, oh, okay, cool. I can up level now in a small way. And it's not actually a challenge because it's actually in service to your bhakti, which nobody can take away. No one is criticizing. It is actually your eternal relationship with Krishna. And all this paraphernalia of what you do and how you do it and the technicalities is all just ways we're ornamenting that offering, right? Just like you've all, I think, heard of the 24-hour kirtan that happens in the Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan. It's been happening since 1986. For 24 hours a day, every day, without fail, no matter what's happening in the world. Whether the power goes out or the Indian bank system gets demonetized, which happened in 2015. I was there when it happened. Complete chaos. Or this thing happens, or bombs are falling, or you don't feel like it. There's kirtan for Krishna and Balaram, Gauranitai, Shishirada Shamasudra. Because of his grace, Ayendra Prabhu, who had a dream, Srila Prabhupada appeared to him and other people around him saying, he was crying actually, I really want the devotees, please chant Hare Krishna 24 hours a day. Why is this not happening? And Ayendra Prabhu put his heart and soul to make it happen. And so, where was I going with this? I was saying, so Ayendra Prabhu was heart and soul fixed on satisfying Guru and Krishna because he just knew, no matter what else is true, what else I don't know, I know that Krishna likes to have his names chanted, and this is good for everybody. So let's make that happen. And as he did that, he started to refine his offering. He started to really develop as a musician. He actually studied raga, studied like what different moods and modes are expressed by different melodies and modes of music. because it's a very subtle science. For example, when you chant in the morning, the Gurvashtakam, that melody of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's the mantra, which is transcendental. But there's a reason why we choose that melody. It's not arbitrary. It's actually associated with the morning time, with the morning before the sun rises. It's a very like getting up and arising kind of feeling that's actually embedded in that particular raga. There's a science to it. There's other ragas that are like um, for different times of day, different modes. Like it just doesn't feel the same if I chant the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. It's very mysterious. It doesn't really work the same way at 6 a.m. That's more of like a midnight raga. So Ayendra studied these things. He developed his voice. He developed the harmonium. He developed very keen sense. And why? Because he said Krishna has a very sensitive ear. I want to please his sensitive ears. So he made sure his kartalas are on time. They're not too loud. The mridanga, always tuned properly. Everyone is always chanting, no matter what their instrument is. He's always very, very refined. And it could seem like here's just like a, uptight musician trying to like control things. It's like, no, that was in service to the first thing. That was in service to, I must satisfy Guru and Krishna by propagating this chanting of Hare Krishna. That's why you see in these kirtans, the main thing he was doing was getting everyone to become a unified force of powerful kirtan, and you can feel it in the recordings. And the other thing he was doing is engaging everybody there, all the pious Hindus who would come. He would say, chant, chant, everybody please chant. He would pause sometimes and be like, while the kirtan's going, explaining to them in 20 seconds, this is what we're doing, this is why it's important for you. Because he knew the whole point of this thing is not for me to satisfy Krishna, it's to expand it. So everyone is satisfying Krishna, because he got that from Prabhupada, who got it from his guru. So the main thing is there, and all the secondary things are in service to the primary thing, the main thing. So similarly, we may not know how to serve Krishna very nicely. We may not know what he likes, right? We may not know what the technicalities of worship are, and that's okay. We can learn those things. But we can take shelter in our sincerity of purpose. And if we have that, that's what we can lean on if if we're like, someone brings to our attention that we can worship in like a more refined way, or we find out that the way I've been doing it, I've been worshiping Lord Shiva, but actually he was just our family, Ishtadev, like our demigod. We didn't even really realize actually he's a devotee of Krishna. Then just like you can take shelter of your sincerity, you're like, okay, now I can up level. This happens again and again in Bhagavatam. It happened in Canto 6 with Yamaraj's followers. They're like ordained to just take people who are just now dying, take them to Yamaraj where he can judge them. And so from their point of view, Yamaraj is the divine, because Yamaraj is unassailable, Lord of Death. Yamaraj actually has the powers of Supersoul, by which he's empowered to understand the contents of everyone's heart, so he can judge them impartially and give them a karmically ordained next destination. However, Yamaraj indicates to them, no, I'm a servant of the Supreme. You're worshiping me as if I'm the Supreme. I'm a servant of the Supreme. And what I'm doing is in service to him. And so his followers actually like grew because they were sincerely serving. They had no personal motivation, but they were sincerely serving a Vaishnava. And the Vaishnava said, not here, up there. You're pointing at me. That's okay. But actually, I'm pointing over here. So this is what you can do. You can worship the Supreme. So this is the science. Refine our sincerity, and then hear from those who are actually practicing better than we are, who have more knowledge, who have more refinement, more maturity, more understanding, and then we can up level, like Andrew did with his musical offerings, or any good cook does with their cooking offerings. Is like, Krishna has a very sensitive tongue. We want to satisfy his palate. But the first thing is we want to satisfy Krishna. After that, we can worry about like cleanliness and timing and punctuality and like, there's a traditional recipe and a mixture of spices and this and that. That's secondary. All the secondary is nice. It's very nice. It's things we can take on for the rest of our life and get unlimitedly into. If you want to be like a cook, or you want to be a painter for Krishna, or give classes for Krishna, anything, whatever you want to take for Krishna, you can do it as nicely as you like. But the thing that never changes is that it's for Krishna. I'm here to give. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. So let's take some comments, questions, reflections, and anything you heard.
I'll share because Shori last night shared with me. We were talking about a lot of things, and one of the things that came up is chanting, and that idea that sincerity, that willingness. I was kind of struggling a little bit with like praying to Krishna and telling him that I love him and what I want to be able to do for him versus chanting the holy names. And it was really a powerful statement that you made that like and kind of ties together with willingness is that when we chant sincerely the names of Krishna, that he already knows what's in our heart. Those prayers that we really have are going to come through. And so just chanting sincerely and having that willingness to just hear his names will get our prayers across to him. And I just felt like, okay, that's a different way for me to think about chanting. And again, that sincerity is really what is the important thing that comes through when we're doing that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like what Shomi was saying, it's the intention. So when you're doing and have the intention in your heart while you're chanting, you're conveying what is going through. And it's beautiful.
It's more important than the words.
Yeah.
And it's a very powerful practice to pray because of a lot of reasons. And one of the main things is that it really helps us.
Yes.
It purifies our intention. It really offers a lot of clarity.
Yeah. And it was so that juxtaposition of like pleasing Krishna and then that reflection and prayer kind of really is for us, not really for him. It was a really great way for me to like frame,
Yeah.
how my practice can evolve.
Yeah, if a child is crying, an attentive and experienced parent knows exactly what the problem is. Hungry, thirsty, needs to be changed, tired, cranky, wants to play. Like there's different kinds of crying. The parent knows. And even if the child doesn't have the words, it's okay because the parent can understand. So yeah, like the invitation to not get lost in whatever our experience is, like, anyway, here it is, Hare Krishna, and just let Krishna sort it out. That's always an option, and I find it very relieving because it's like, okay, and at the same time, it's not a bad thing to be in touch with your reality of even your material reality, so you can own it and do whatever you need to do around it. But as far as Krishna is concerned, he gets it. Yeah, more reflections.
I love it. Also on the topic of prayer, how you said prayer is your prerogative.
Yeah.
Right. It's like you're
We're born
right.
with it.
Yeah.
Human body is a machine that allows you to pray.
Mm-hmm.
It's a powerful, powerful right. God-given right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually embarrassing how few people know that explicitly. And a lot of people know it because it's implicit, because they just kind of already started praying or whatever. But it's embarrassing how badly we've fallen away from teaching people that no matter what else you do, you can always pray. This is your right. You're allowed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter what anybody says. Doesn't matter if it's uncool or it's not with the times or politically it's not appropriate. Doesn't matter if you're in a country that says you can't pray. You can pray. Nobody can stop you. The elephant could pray.
Mm-hmm.
Krishna listened.
I have a question. The last statement, the last sentence in the purport, there's only one religion in the world to be followed by one and all, and that is the Bhagavad Dharma, or the religion which teaches one to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead and no one else. Can you speak to that a little bit about how we're also a non-sectarian, movement, and that we do also see that, even in other religions, there is bhakti, and even in other religions where they call God a different name, not the Supreme Personality of Godhead or not Krishna, that also, is okay.
Yeah, I mean, if there's practice of bhakti in the essential sense, it isn't really another religion.
Mm-hmm.
It's bhakti. It's bhakti with a certain mood,
Mm-hmm.
certain cultural influence, certain mood, a certain approach. But if it's bhakti, it's bhakti. The context of that sentence is that Prabhupada has been criticizing worshiping the demigods. He says worshiping the multi-demigods for material gain is practically a perversity of religion. It's condemned in the Bhagavatam as Kaitava Dharma, which means cheating religion.
Mm-hmm.
You call it Dharma, but it's actually cheating. Then on the heels of that, he says that's not religion. This is religion. So he's not saying like only this book, only the Sanskrit language, only Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj. It's like the source, however you understand that source, has a variety. Even the one we call Krishna, he himself, when he was on the planet, had so many names.
Mhm.
You know, if we sat here
Okay.
and wrote it down, we'd probably come up with 100 different names Krishna was called.
Mhm.
And in the Shastra, so many different incarnations and avatars, bona fide ones, nothing made up. Never mind with the, you know, the self-made avatars, one we added to the list, but the actual avatars are described to be like waves in the ocean. So some families worship Ramachandra because they just love Ramachandra. That's an incarnation of the Lord.
Mhm.
And they're like, it's Ramachandra or nothing. Ramachandra. Great.
Mhm.
That's not Kaitava Dharma. That's real Dharma. That's Bhagavad Dharma. That's real bhakti. And Jesus, Buddha, you know, Jehovah. There are different approaches to the Supreme.
Mhm.
And there are, I'm sorry to say, there are fake religions too. There are cults and made up things with no basis and any revelatory experience, no real spiritual practice.
Mhm.
Some just charismatic leader. And there's a difference.
It feels also important, like if someone were to read this,
Yeah.
I mean, I know the answer to that question, but I
Right.
want to ask it and bring it up because if someone were to read it without the context of a teacher or someone to explain it, it seems very, um, sectarian
Of course.
and elitist or separate, and that causes war, right? And it's like not what he's saying. And also
Yeah.
in the context of when he says religion, he's talking about dharma, not necessarily religion the way that people in the
Not
modern day think
ecclesiastical
about it.
consideration. The ecclesiastical definition of religion isn't important.
Right.
The actual orientation,
Mhm.
the actual orientation of what religion is, how it functions.
Mhm.
In that sense, there's only one meaning to the word religion: to reconnect, religio.
Right.
That's the dharma of religion. That's what it actually is.
Mhm.
If it's helping you reconnect, it's good.
Mhm.
Period. And then the irony, because you're right, it does look sectarian, but the irony is that actually not worshiping the Supreme is sectarian. Why? Because it results in honing in on focusing on some aspect of the material reality, and that's it. You know, I'm into like people who look like me. I
Mhm.
want them to be born where I'm born. That's real. That's real humanity. I'll start a war with other people. I'm
Mhm.
into like this. I'm into that. You're with me? You're not. If you're not with me, you're with the enemy. Right? That's sectarianism.
Right.
That's
Or
the
even
problem.
within our movement of like different Gaudiya,
Yeah,
Islam, even
yeah.
different sanghas within that. It's like that happens.
If you're spending your time feuding with your brothers and sisters, you're not satisfying Krishna,
Right.
right? And that's material consciousness.
Mhm.
And so that's where religion devolves into. And that's what the people on the sidelines of spirituality are criticizing because they see it around them.
Mhm.
So as long as we're not doing that, people will generally stick around to hear the context of what we're saying. Even if we say
Mhm.
something that like out of context is like, wait, what? If they can see in you that you don't have a chip in the game, you're not trying to get anything from anybody.
Mhm.
You're not playing that game that those people have played when real Dharma devolves into like material sectarianism.
Mhm.
Right? I worship this demigod. I worship this family. I worship this country. I worship this sexuality. I worship this skin color. You know, as long as you're not playing that game and they can feel that from you, they'll stick around. And it doesn't take that long to see because the previous sentence Prabhupada talked about Kaitava Dharma, and now he's talking
Mhm.
about real Dharma. It's not actually like an ecclesiastical difference. It's a difference of sincerity, as I was trying to give.
Mhm.
So people will hear that from you. They'll have the patience, as long as they're not too overburdened with their own anger, and you show them that you're not part of the problem.
Mhm.
Because unfortunately, there is a lot of that going around.
Right. Yeah.
A lot to unpack. Mainly because I was actually having a good conversation with a friend who was referring to the Old Testament Exodus, where we're talking about, demigods and worshiping God and going through that. And we were just talking about the difference between how a lot of religions ask you, like, you do your worship because there's some kind of means to the end. You're trying to, either get more wealth
Yeah.
or go to heaven so you can live a comfortable afterlife or whatever that is. And that was also reminiscent of whatever the Gita's of chapter 7, where Krishna says there's 4 people that come to him, and it's the people who are in distress, looking for wealth, uh, and then that they're inquisitive, they're just curious, and then there's the people that are that want absolute knowledge, and those are the people that are like most dear to him. And it kind of ties back to this conversation I ended up having with this individual for several hours or multiple hours. Was that the ritual, the things that we do it in the mode of knowing that, that we are the servants. That's it. We're not looking for anything because we never truly own anything. We didn't really truly own these bodies. They're only here for, 80, 90 years, if Christian willing. But we use them to do the work of the Lord. And that's where the real happiness is. And then the seeking of the absolute truth, being self-realized, understanding what we truly are, building that. And I think even when Christian was just explaining the people that are in the distress or are in the wealth, that there is intention, like you were saying in the beginning. And just by having good association, people can start to buy in and go deeper and hit that more attainable level.
But, that's where that's where organized religion has a place, because organized religion is a place to progressively help people who are full of material desires. It's like you don't just wave a magic wand and somebody magically just wakes up and like, oh yeah, I'm actually part and parcel of the Lord, and all these material desires I've been chasing are useless. You have to progressively put him in touch with higher association. Organized religion is a place for that to happen. If it's functioning properly, it gives that. It gives some scripture. It gives some practice. It gives some reminder. It gives some lifestyle that, at least the beginnings of a lifestyle that can support staying in the mode of goodness, which itself is supportive of remembering and not forgetting our relationship with the Lord. And it can take multiple lifetimes, but that's the thing with they're coming and they're getting purified by it. And so that section of Bhagavad Gita is really valuable. Chapter 7, verse 15 and 16.
Yeah.
In fact, 15, 16, 17, and 18 talk about Krishna's well, they're all actually great souls. Even if somebody who's worshiping me just for money or they get free from suffering, but the one who actually knows me, I consider non-different from my own self. And then in 7:19, he says, after many births and deaths, somebody actually realizes that I'm the all in all, they surrender. That's a very rare soul. I consider that a great soul. 7:20 to 23, Prabhupada quotes in this chapter, in this purport. He says that after following on the footsteps of saying they realize I'm the totality, Krishna himself says in 20 to 23, worship of any demigods is just something I can allow you to do if you want, but it's coming from me. And it's actually a misdirected worship of me. It's actually just curved.
Right.
So that whole section, 7:15 to 7:23, is really along the lines of what we've been talking about. And it's totally normal to have mixed desires. And it's just by that association. If you have mixed desires, you're like, oh God, please, I'm suffering so much. And that puts you into association with more advanced devotees. And if there's a sincerity there, then the way that'll be manifested is you have some of that pressure released. It's not so, the temperature lowers a little bit, the material fever lowers. You're not suffering as much because you get into a higher mode of nature. And you're yeah, but there's something else here. I came for this, and even I got some of it, but there's something else.
Right.
And you stick around. That's where you can really win. That's where the real wins happen.
Yeah.
Dhruva Maharaj did that. He actually went to the jungle on Narada Muni's instruction to just give it all up because he was infuriated. As a Kshatriya boy, he was infuriated that his stepmother spoke to him so harshly. She said, "Oh, you think you can sit on the king's lap? You came from the wrong mother. If you had come from me, you could sit on the king's lap. No one else." And he was crying hot tears. How dare you? And he talked to his mother, who said, well, actually, she's right. She's the favorite co-wife. I can't do anything. What I've heard is that if you worship the Lord, you can have your desires fulfilled. Maybe you should take it to him. And he's like, I will. And he went to the jungle and he intense practice. And the Lord appeared to him and he said, Swamin kutar tosmi varangnayache. I have been praying for pieces of broken glass, and you've appeared as the greatest jewel. Look at what I was asking for. And look at what I got. You are actually the totality. Here I was crying and begging for broken glass, and you're the greatest jewel. So it can be like that.
Mm.
And it's okay. We'll have our awakening later when we realize, oh, I can't believe I was asking for that. But just follow that part of you that's like, yeah, but there's something more here. Something mysteriously attractive happening here. This mantra and this practice. Like, I don't want to just like cut and run. I want to stick around. There's something valuable because there really is. Spoiler alert. There really is. Thank you. Tanya.
So I recently read a management book called The Five Dysfunctions of a Team. And the basis, and it's the basis of all relationships, any material relationship, spiritual, everything. The basic issue is trust, right? So when you trust something, that's like I don't know, I'm just linking it to like sincerity of purpose. I trust that if I cry the names of the Lord, if I pray to the Lord, that I'm going to be held. It's trust. And I was just, while we were talking, I was just thinking, how in the material world, like, people don't know the sincerity of your purpose. Like, I'm a leader in a corporate America, well, it's not even America, it's UK based, but I'm in a corporate job, and I have a new employee that was assigned to me that doesn't trust me yet. And I know my sincerity of purpose, and I sit there and think, but I'm working so hard for you. Like, why don't you trust me?
You're the name. You're someone who got hired. How do they know? So
right, exactly. Yeah, no, I know. I totally get it. But it's just interesting because, trust is one of those things that's like, you can't just demand trust. Like, you can't just demand people that trust you. You have, it's something that has to be earned over time and experienced, at least in the material sense,
Yeah, even with Krishna, it's like that. We can't demand he show up. He's got to trust us.
Right.
Are you serious about this? And that's what that's what we're showing him all these days, and all this practice is actually we're showing him we're sincere, and he's also becoming manifest to us as someone we can trust. But it's there, even at the material level. You're completely right. You can't demand it, or you can, but it doesn't work. Yeah, because like we talk often about worship in the modes of nature. Worship in the mode of passion is I do the thing because I'm going to get a reward, and you can get that from an employee really easily. All you got to do is pay them.
Right.
That's all you got to do. But if that's all you have, then you can understand that book is probably describing how like the level of work and commitment you're going to get from somebody who's operating that way is so much less than somebody who's like, I love my boss. I love what they're doing. I want to be like them. I want to make the world a better place because I want to follow what they're doing. I just want to say, I don't even care about all this other stuff. Like, pay me, don't pay me. Like, that's an employee. That's actually someone who happen, right?
Yeah.
And outside of the corporate context, that's love and trust. And in spiritual communities, that's a necessity. There has to be that, because that's where real change happens. You can change anybody with waving a stick and putting fear of something into them, but it's very temporary. It's very surface level. Little deeper is if you offer incentive. Little deeper is if you get into the mode of like caring about morality and doing what's right and order and structure.
Right.
Being a good person. But if you really want to change them, and therefore change the world, you have to actually inspire love and trust. There's really no other way.
Yeah.
Therefore, we see
Well, it's so true.
lives of the Vaishnavas, they always demonstrate being lovable. Like it's just a natural, because they're coming from the soul, but that's the dharma of such a person is that they're very attractive, they're very lovable, and they don't operate on the lower levels, right? They're not just a charismatic person who's like attracting you, and you can see they're also just like ducking into a corner with whatever their most attractive follower is for a few minutes and coming back and making money off of you. There's no mixed motivation. It's like only like, no, this person loves me. This person is actually like amazing. And we get lifted up in a way that nothing else can do. So
yeah,
that's a lifeblood of spiritual advancement. For the less advanced, there always has to be, okay, I'm wherever I'm at, but at least I have this person looking out for me. At least I know they love me.
And it's so interesting because you'll give so much more when you feel that.
More than they
like, yeah. I mean, in a corporate experience is, if I am appreciated, it doesn't have to be monetarily. If I'm just, praised and appreciated, then I will do so much more. But
Yeah.
in the spiritual context, I know that my love is being understood and, reciprocated. It's amazing.
Yeah, there's no substitute for that. It's gotta be love and trust. People leave spiritual traditions because they don't have that. And they join because they have that. Or they start taking up practice because they stay because they have that. It's everything. And when you talk to people who have a problem with religion or whatever, it's because they don't have love and trust. Because the trust has been broken. Actually, breaking trust is one of the worst things you can do. Because it is so important. If you break somebody's trust, somebody who's dependent on you, somebody who's actually sincere and honest, and you break their trust, it's really bad for you. It's extremely bad for you. To like pretend to be a sincere religious leader and just like abuse your followers. It's just one of the worst things you can do. Because it sets people up for like, I'm not even ready to hear about that anymore. Don't talk to me about God. Like I'm so fried.
Yeah.
That's from Krishna's point of view, like a big time waster. Because they'll get over their stuff. But distrust is like, it's painful. It takes a lot longer to build up trust than it is to break it. Yeah, anything else? We had a good crew today. We had 9 people. Jai. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Bol. Okay, thanks everyone. See you soon.